Thank you for listening to the Solanos Stories, a companion to the Smithsonian's traveling exhibit, Crossroads, Change in Rural America, presented in downtown Trinidad, Colorado. Solanos Stories salutes the farmers, ranchers, cowboys, and cattlemen who helped shape the Southwest, and their trusty hats. Milton Horn, written by his daughter Joanne Ross. My owner is a descendant of Tecumseh, a chief of the Shawnee Indian tribe. Milton was a Texan by birth, having moved with his parents and siblings to land which C.D. Horn homesteaded prior to 1924. The homestead Milton told me about is located on the east rim of the Mills Canyon. It seems it's quite an honor for my owner to be a cowboy and wear me. The majestic hat, as indicated above, he was Native American, who loved being a cowboy and wearing me the hat every day of his life. Milton lived near the Mills area, being employed by numerous ranches for the remainder of his life. During our time together, many facts came to become part of my heritage. We rode many horses during this time. Old Frosty is one I recall the most, as he was rather spooky and always giving my owner or one of the children a wild ride when he spooked over nothing usually. The ranches where Milton was employed through the years include the Kraft Ranch on the Colfax-Hardin County line, the Sanford Ranch as it was known then in Wagon Mound, New Mexico, and the Cruz Ranch, located near Eagletail in Colfax County. Quarter Circle D Bar was Milton's brand. He always had a few head of cattle carrying his brand through my time with him. The brand is almost as important as having a good hat, something necessary in the Old West, and passed along through the years as marking the herd of cattle belonging to each ranch or person. I believe that the above brand is still owned by Rusty Horn, grandson of Milton. Being purchased by Milton Horn as a young hat brought me the most interesting life possible. As you view my present look, perhaps you should learn how we came to be such great companions. Sunrise, my owner Milton looked at me quite interesting. There he is with a worn Levi's, a nice western cut shirt, his Levi's jacket, brown boots, all his attire has been worn many times prior to this crisp morning. Milton never left the house without me. How honored I am. The flashlight in Milton's left hand broke the early morning darkness as we headed to the barn to milk the cow. Of course, we stopped by the chicken shed to pour a pail of grain in the tin feeder. The milk bucket was being carried in Milton's right hand, and we proceeded to the milk shed. You talk about cold. Being high on the head of this magnificent cowboy of many years, I caught the real chill of the 20-degree morning, but I was so proud to be included in Milton's life. We finished milking and took the tin bucket of foaming milk to the house to be stored for further use. Spurs were lacking as we entered the warm house, so Milton finds his spurs in the somewhat quaint back porch. I knew we were ready for a long day on the range. Back to the saddle up old Frosty, the beautiful black gelding with a blazed face. Had to check the heifers on the east side of the ranch today. My owner by this time had found yet another heavier jacket, put on his leather chaps, and off we go. As we rode along that crisp fall morning, Milton started singing a familiar tune. How lovely to hear his bass voice as we made our way across the first little rise of the grassy hill after leaving the warm house below. Much to my surprise, Milton spun a few tales of his life as we rode along. You see, as a silver-belly Stetson perched on Milton's handsome body, I had the privilege of hearing a lot of his past. How I wish I could have been there as he and his brother helped a friend move a herd of cattle from the Abbott, New Mexico area to the Oklahoma Panhandle on a trail drive to load the cattle on the train for market. Singing, whistling, and humming were just part of Milton's everyday life. I noted he seemed to know all the hymns when I was left hanging on the hat rack when he and his wife V joined the local church group. My band just stretched for joy when I heard the owner's bass voice as he sang in the quartet and the church choir. As Milton attended church, taught his Sunday school class, attended the deacon's meeting, I was always on top of the world as I was part of his everyday wear when leaving the house. The first day described above was the breaking in part of my life. Our ride that morning was somewhat short as we checked the number of heifers in the herd that morning. I think there were 50 in that small pasture. Milton quietly counted each face of the fat Hereford heifers that morning. Proud that we found them all in a short time, we headed back to the house. My place with the other hats that Milton owned was special as I was the new one. The next morning when another hat was chosen, I was disappointed. You see, I wanted to go every time. But since I was his dress hat for a number of years, it took me many years to earn the sweat spots under my band as you see today. When I started out in Milton's life, I was only worn when it was a dress-up occasion. As the days ran into months, months into years, I became a vital part of Milton's life as I was so comfortable and made him a quite stately man. Wish I could tell you all the great times Milton and I had, the cowboys we visited. I almost forgot we did not always go horseback. Sometimes when we went to feed the cattle in the old Ford pickup that Milton would sometimes take his wife Vi along to drive while we fed. That was always fun. You see, if the pickup hit a bump, Milton might not keep his balance, and down we would go, and those steers in the west pasture loved to nuzzle me. The hat, those rough tongues, just like sandpaper, left some more interesting spots on my brim. Never did I mind. We had to climb the windmill that sits near the highway to check the wheel and why it was not pumping enough water for the cows and calves in the middle pasture. We fixed the windmill after a trip to town for parts. Then we went up and down the windmill tower, seems like a million times. Being a hat, I should not neglect to tell you how much I enjoyed Milton strumming his guitar, singing along, and one of my favorites was a long cowboy ballad, "Oh, That Strawberry Roan." When tired of that instrument, he would start on the fiddle with Soldier's Joy. Wow, that would really liven up the session. The banjo was also part of the music session, too, when picking out the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. The soft bass voice sang all the verses, which Milton knew by heart. The harmonica was great, too. Is there another musical instrument he plays? Yep, onto the piano as he plays and sings along, as the hymns he practices for Sunday are so well done. I must look happy, as I sure am. From the looks of me today, it took a lifetime to roll into one man the many talents he enjoyed. A hat in the era of Milton held a special place, for you see it was not only a covering for a cowboy's head. If you were a wise person, never was a hat mussed with, ever. Not even his favorite grandchildren nor his 3 children ever touched his hat, unless asked to hang it up for him. The Stetson was always brushed to remove all dust, lint, whatever might be on the crown or brim, then check the shape to be sure it was the special Milton look. Cowboys are not a conceited lot, however, most of them know how handsome they look. The crisp Levi's, white starched shirt with pearl snaps, a nice leather belt, boots shine to mirror the fine face last but not the least Stetson. You see, I earned my place here, Milton and I. Every grain of dust, bit of perspiration, the circles of both under my band stand for moments of hard work, joy, peace, quiet, a love of the wonderful America we are privileged to live in and be close to God, who provided this special place of a cowboy.